Okay, so you know how we were talking about that Microsoft announcement?
Yeah.
The whole Majorana 1 quantum chip thing?
Right. Yeah, all the buzz around that.
Yeah, and you sent me like a whole bunch of stuff to read articles, research notes. Like, it's everywhere.
It seems like it's really caught everyone's attention this time.
It has. So what we need to figure out is, like, what is the big deal? What makes this so different?
Exactly, like in plain English,
Oh, wait.
for people like us who don't have a PhD in quantum physics.
Yeah, exactly. Like, why should I care? I'm busy.
Right. We've got everything from like Wired and CNBC talking about it to
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
more in-depth stuff in Nature. And then, of course, Microsoft's own announcements and blog posts from Azure Quantum DARPA even.
I saw some people freaking out on Twitter.
Exactly. So we've got like a million different perspectives here.
Which is honestly a little overwhelming, I have to say.
Yeah, it's a lot to process.
That's exactly why we're doing this deep dive, right? Like, let's cut through the jargon and just get to what matters.
Exactly. We want to make sure everyone understands this.
Right. Like, what did they actually achieve? And what could it mean down the line?
Without needing a degree in quantum mechanics.
Exactly. A crash course for the rest of us.
So let's start with the basics.
Mm-hmm.
What is this Majorana 1 chip everyone's going crazy about?
Well, from what I've been reading, it's this brand new type of quantum processor.
Mm-hmm.
And Microsoft announced it back in, I think, February.
February 2025, yeah.
Right, 2025. But what's really wild is how they built it, right? It uses this whole different approach called topological superconductivity.
Yeah, you're talking about the Majorana particles, right?
Right, those things.
That's what's really fascinating here. This isn't just like a little upgrade. They're not just making a faster horse.
No, I like that.
This is like inventing the car. A totally new way of doing things.
Right, like a paradigm shift.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like think about the transistor.
Okay, yeah.
That completely changed electronics. It's the foundation of everything we use today. Smartphones, computers, all of it.
Because it was a fundamentally different way of doing things.
Precisely. Yeah. And this Majorana approach could be that same kind of fundamental shift for computing.
Wow. And the thing is, this wasn't just some overnight discovery either. From what I saw, Microsoft has been working on this for like almost 20 years.
That's right. Almost 2 decades of research and development.
That's a serious commitment.
It is. And here's where things get even more interesting.
Okay, lay it on me.
In the process of developing this chip, Microsoft scientists think they might have actually stumbled upon a new state of matter.
Whoa, hold on. A whole new state of matter.
Yeah, this topological superconducting state, it's a pretty huge deal.
That's like rewriting the physics textbooks.
It could be. Discovering something completely new while trying to build something else.
That's a serious aha moment.
It is.
Okay, so they've built this thing using a totally new approach. And they might have discovered a new state of matter in the process. But like, why all the hype? What's so special about this Majorana 1? What makes it a breakthrough?
So the biggest problem with quantum computing up until now has been how unstable it is.
Right, I've heard about that.
The qubits, those basic building blocks, they're super sensitive. They're prone to errors.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere that it's like trying to do brain surgery with shaky hands.
That's a good way to put it. Even the slightest disturbance can mess up the calculations.
Making it really hard to solve those complex problems reliably.
Exactly. And that's where the Majorana 1 comes in. It uses what are called topological qubits.
Topological qubits.
Okay. Now, topological, think of it like the information is encoded in the shape of the material itself.
Oh, interesting. So it's protected by the very structure of the hardware.
Exactly. Making it much more stable and less likely to make mistakes.
So it's not as fragile as those other qubits.
Right, like those super delicate balancing acts where one wrong move and it all falls apart.
Right, I get it.
Topological qubits are more like weaving the information into the fabric of the chip itself.
So it's less about maintaining some delicate balance and more about the information being inherently part of the physical structure.
You got it. And the early measurements seem to back this up. They're seeing a much lower error rate, something like 1% in a really short time frame.
That's a huge improvement, isn't it?
It is a big leap forward in terms of stability.
But it's not just about being more stable, right? There was also something about scalability, like being able to put tons of these qubits on a single chip.
That's right. That's absolutely essential. If we want to solve those really complex real-world problems.
Like the kind of problems that would make a real difference.
Exactly. And this is where Microsoft's claim gets really interesting.
Yeah.
They say this architecture has a clear path to putting 1 million qubits on a single chip.
Hold on, 1 million qubits on a chip you could hold in your hand?
That's what they're saying. And if they can pull that off while maintaining stability,
It's like game over, right?
it would be a huge step towards practical quantum computing. And you asked why you should care.
Yeah.
This is why Imagine going from those early calculators to today's supercomputers.
Yeah.
That's the kind of leap we're talking about. Exactly. We could solve problems we haven't even thought of yet.
It's mind-blowing, especially when you think about where other quantum computers are right now.
Right. They're still struggling to get to a few thousand qubits.
And Microsoft is talking about 1 million.
Yeah. That potential for scaling, combined with the stability, that's why everyone's so excited. It tackles two of the biggest roadblocks in the field head on.
Okay, so we've established it's more stable and potentially way more powerful, but what can you actually do with it? Like, how does it work? It's magic.
Yeah.
And what kind of real-world applications are we talking about?
Basically, it works by controlling these Majorana particles within that special topological state.
Okay, right. We talked about it.
And by manipulating them, they can create those stable qubits, which then do the calculations.
And those calculations are much faster and more reliable than anything we can do with regular computers.
Especially for certain types of problems.
Yeah, got it. So more stable qubits equals more reliable and potentially faster problem solving. But give me some examples. What kind of problems could this Majorana 1 powered computer solve?
Well, let's take drug discovery, for example.
Okay.
Yeah. Right now, developing new medicines takes forever and costs a ton of money.
It's all trial and error, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But a quantum computer could simulate how molecules behave at a much deeper level.
You mean way more accurately than we can now?
Precisely. Yeah. And that could speed up the process of finding new drugs tremendously.
And potentially make them more affordable, too.
Exactly. That's a huge win for healthcare.
What else?
Material science is another big one. Imagine designing completely new materials from the atom up.
Whoa. Like what kind of materials?
Maybe even materials that can repair themselves. Think about self-healing bridges or airplanes.
Wait, self-healing bridges? They fix themselves?
That's the idea. It sounds like science fiction, but with quantum simulation, it might actually be possible.
That's wild.
One of the articles even mentioned using this to break down microplastics.
Really? So we could tackle the plastic pollution problem.
Potentially. It's amazing what you could do if you could control matter at that level.
So we're talking about breakthroughs in medicine infrastructure, even the environment.
Exactly. And then there's the whole field of sustainable agriculture.
Oh, right. I read something about that.
Quantum simulations could help us develop better fertilizers, more resilient crops.
So we could produce more food and do it more sustainably?
Exactly. And let's not forget about error correction within quantum computing itself.
Oh, right, because these Majorana qubits are more stable.
They should make it much easier to correct errors in the calculations, which is a huge deal.
Because then we could tackle even more complex problems.
Precisely. The potential benefits are pretty much endless. Healthcare, energy, environmental science, you name it.
So it's like a domino effect. It could revolutionize everything.
It really could.
It's hard to even wrap your head around it.
He has a lot to take in.
Okay, so we've got Microsoft saying all this amazing stuff.
Yeah.
But what's everyone else saying? Are the experts as excited as Microsoft is?
Well, the scientists at Microsoft are definitely over the moon.
Yeah, I bet.
Some of them are calling it a complete reinvention of computing, like the transistor for the quantum age.
Like a fundamental shift.
Exactly. They see this as a massive leap forward.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But I also saw some stuff about debates within the scientific community, like whether they've actually proven these Majorana particles exist.
Yeah, that's an important point. Microsoft has published some really compelling research.
Oh, yeah, I saw that Nature paper.
But some scientists are still questioning whether the effects they're seeing are definitely due to Majorana particles.
So it's not 100% settled yet.
Not completely.
Yeah.
There are always rigorous standards in science, especially for something this groundbreaking.
So it's good to be cautious.
It's healthy. You want that kind of scrutiny. It's how science progresses.
So we've got excitement from Microsoft, but also some healthy skepticism from the scientific community.
That's a good summary.
Yeah.
And what about the public? What's the general reaction been like?
Oh, from what I've seen on social media and stuff, people are pretty excited.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that too.
It's like this sense of the future finally arriving.
Exactly.
Like we're on the verge of something big.
Right. But I guess within the scientific community, beyond the initial excitement, there's also some caution.
There is.
Hmm.
Especially about the practical challenges.
Like actually scaling this up.
Right. Going from this one chip to a full-blown quantum computer that's reliable and usable.
That's going to take some serious engineering.
It is. It's a big leap from proving the concept to actually building machines.
So a lot of work still to be done.
Definitely. But it's an exciting time to be following this field.
It really is. So where do we go from here? What's next in the world of quantum computing after this Majorana 1 announcement? What should we be watching for?
Well, Microsoft has said their goal is to build a quantum computer with at least 1 million qubits.
Yeah, that million qubit chip we talked about.
And they're suggesting they could do it in years, not decades.
Which would be insane.
If they can achieve that, it would completely change the game.
And how does that compare to what other companies are doing, like IBM and Google? Well, they're mostly focused on different approaches, like superconducting qubits.
Right. I've read about those.
So Microsoft is really going all in on this topological qubit strategy.
So they're kind of taking a gamble, but if it pays off,
They could be way ahead of the curve.
it's a high-risk, high-reward situation.
Exactly. And the ultimate goal for everyone in this field is commercialization, right?
To make quantum computers that can actually solve real-world problems.
Exactly. And make them accessible to businesses and researchers.
So this breakthrough for Microsoft could really speed up that process.
It could. It could bring the future of quantum computing much closer.
Okay, so let's recap. The Majorana 1 is this new quantum chip from Microsoft.
Right.
And it uses these weird Majorana particles to create these more stable and scalable qubits.
Exactly. And that could potentially overcome some of the biggest hurdles in the field.
And potentially revolutionize a whole bunch of industries.
It could change everything.
But it's important to remember this is still early days.
It is. There's still a lot of research and development to be done.
And the scientific community is still figuring out all the details.
That's right. It's a very dynamic field.
But it's exciting nonetheless.
Absolutely.
So here's something to think about. Given this potential for stable quantum computing, what kind of impossible problems can you imagine being solved in the next few years? Like, really think about it. What are the possibilities?
It's a great question to ponder.
Because this could be a turning point, you know?
It could be the start of something truly revolutionary.
It's definitely something worth keeping an eye on.
For sure. This is just the beginning.
Absolutely. And we'll be here to cover it every step of the way.
Looking forward to it.
Me too.
This is going to be interesting.
It is.